The dinner table dilemma. A common parental trap. Imagine a very familiar scene in many households. It's the afternoon, and a 4-year-old is playing, running back and forth in the living room. Every time the child gets slightly tired or a little bored, they open the cookie jar and snack on a few pieces. Sometimes they wash it down with a little milk. The whole afternoon passes this way. A cookie, a sip of milk, some play, and then another snack. Dinner time arrives, and a complete meal is served. A safe, favorite food the child loves, alongside a few new vegetables the parents want them to try. But as the family sits down, the child merely sniffs the familiar dish, pushes a few pieces around, and leaves it unfinished. Upon seeing the vegetables, they immediately turn their face away. The parents start to plead, "Honey, just try one bite. If you eat your veggies, Mommy will give you extra cookies after dinner." "Okay, how about Daddy makes you something else?" And so, the battle of pleading, bargaining, and convincing repeats itself. Exactly like yesterday, the day before, and the whole past week. Worse still, these loving parental reactions, cooking an alternative dish, offering more milk, promising a cookie reward, are unintentionally training the child to refuse food. The irony. The very things parents do out of the deepest love are making the situation worse. We are not wrong. We are simply missing a piece of the puzzle that the French consider foundational to raising children who eat a varied diet. A simple yet decisive principle. The 2 to 3 hour hunger window and the absolute cessation of grazing between meals. When parents truly grasp this principle, everything changes. The child becomes more cooperative, tries new foods more easily, and mealtimes become significantly lighter and less stressful. But to get there, we first need a clear understanding of the scientific mechanism behind picky eating behavior. The dinner table dilemma, a common parental trap. Imagine a very familiar scene in many households. It's the afternoon, and a 4-year-old is playing, running back and forth in the living room. Every time the child gets slightly tired or a little bored, they open the cookie jar and snack on a few pieces. Sometimes they wash it down with a little milk. The whole afternoon passes this way. A cookie, a sip of milk, some play, and then another snack. Dinner time arrives, and a complete meal is served. A safe, favorite food the child loves, alongside a few new vegetables the parents want them to try. But as the family sits down, the child merely sniffs the familiar dish, pushes a few pieces around, and leaves it unfinished. Upon seeing the vegetables, they immediately turn their face away. The parents start to plead, "Honey, just try one bite. If you eat your veggies, Mommy will give you extra cookies after dinner. Okay, how about Daddy makes you something else?" And so, the battle of pleading, bargaining, and convincing repeats itself. Exactly like yesterday, the day before, and the whole past week. Worse still, these loving parental reactions, cooking an alternative dish, offering more milk, promising a cookie reward, are unintentionally training the child to refuse food. The irony. The very things parents do out of the deepest love are making the situation worse. We are not wrong. We are simply missing a piece of the puzzle that the French consider foundational to raising children who eat a varied diet. A simple yet decisive principle. The 2 to 3 hour hunger window, and the absolute cessation of grazing between meals. When parents truly grasp this principle, everything changes. The child becomes more cooperative, tries new foods more easily, and mealtimes become significantly lighter and less stressful. But to get there, we first need a clear understanding of the scientific mechanism behind picky eating. The science of refusal, what is really happening inside the child. Let's pause and take a deeper look at what is truly happening inside the child's brain and body when they refuse food, especially new items. For years, parents often thought picky eating was due to personality, stubbornness, or disliking the taste. But nutritional science and psychology tell a different story. Most of these reactions are entirely natural physiology, not intentional behavior. Neophobia, the survival mechanism. First, we must mention neophobia, the fear of new foods. This is not a disorder but a survival mechanism. In the wild, young organisms need to avoid unfamiliar things to stay safe. A child's brain, therefore, reacts to new food with caution. This is completely normal and occurs in most children between the ages of 2 and 6. So, when parents see their child hesitate, take a small sniff, or push the plate of vegetables aside, it is not attitude, but a primitive biological response. Appetite suppression, the energy barrier. What makes neophobia much worse is the mistake almost all parents unwittingly make, allowing continuous grazing before the main meal. When a child eats a cookie, drinks milk, nibbles on fruit, or has a sweet drink just an hour before dinner, their body immediately enters a state of false satiety. The simple carbohydrates in cookies and the lactose in milk trigger a feeling of comfort, effectively turning off the hunger signal. At that exact moment, the entire mechanism that encourages the child to explore new foods completely disappears. The child is not being difficult. They are simply not hungry. When they are not hungry, the brain systems that register new tastes, especially the amygdala, do not function fully. The child has no biological motivation to taste anything unfamiliar. This is precisely why, even if parents plead, threaten, or bargain, the child absolutely refuses to eat. It's not that the child is defiant. It's not that they are intentionally being difficult. The child simply lacks the necessary hunger to try. This is known as appetite suppression, the process of extinguishing the feeling of hunger before the meal takes place. Control paradox, the psychological backlash. The next factor that makes things more severe is a very familiar psychological phenomenon that few recognize, the control paradox. The more parents try to force the child to eat, the more the child's brain activates a defensive system. The child feels a loss of autonomy, feeling compelled to do something their body is not ready for. At that point, the sympathetic nervous system increases its activity, making the child more closed off, more withdrawn, and increasing their refusal. The fascinating thing is, the human body, even in adults, always pushes back when it feels its control is being taken away. With young children, that reaction is even stronger. The vicious cycle. Thus, two factors combine to create a perfect vicious cycle. The hunger window is disrupted. The child is not hungry enough. The parents push harder. The child refuses more strongly. The result is that the meal becomes a battlefield. Children cry, parents are stressed, and everyone goes to bed feeling like they have failed. The simple solution. But the good news is, this vicious cycle can be dismantled with one extremely simple and scientific pillar, allowing the child to truly become hungry again before the meal. No hunger, no eating. No hunger, no food exploration. No hunger, all efforts to teach healthy eating habits are meaningless. And this is precisely why the French, for generations, have placed absolute emphasis on the 2 to 3 hour hunger window, the foundation of their entire approach to raising varied eaters. When we clearly understand the root of the problem that children refuse to eat because they are not hungry enough and resist because they feel forced, we can move to the most crucial part: how the French solve picky eating gently but extremely effectively. What makes the French method respected worldwide is not that they have special menus or complicated cooking secrets. The core lies in structure, clear expectations, and a calm, consistent attitude at every meal. The first principle that lays the foundation for all subsequent pillars is le menu unique, one family, one meal. This is not merely a rule of everyone eats the same thing. In fact, it establishes a powerful but wordless message to the child. This meal is stable, safe, and you can learn to adapt. When parents constantly cook separate dishes for the child, change meals according to the child's wishes, or separate everything for fear the child won't eat, the child is unintentionally taught, you don't need to try new foods. Adults will change to suit you. This goes against the entire goal of fostering varied eating ability that the French aim for. In Le Menu Unique, the meal always has two components: a familiar dish that the child feels safe with, and a new dish, or one the parents want to introduce. The child has the right to choose which dish to eat first, how much to eat, and at their own pace. But what the child does not have the right to do is demand a replacement or a different dish. This structure helps the child understand that mealtime is not a negotiation. This is a crucial foundation for the next pillar, the 2 to 3 hour hunger window, to maximize its strength. Because in French culture, it is clearly understood that no strategy works if the child comes to the table in a state of false satiety. Without hunger, the child cannot focus. Without hunger, the child will not cooperate. Without hunger, the child will view the meal as an annoyance. Therefore, the second pillar, which is also the focus of this video, is the hunger window. The French regard this as the golden mechanism for the body to self-reset a healthy eating rhythm. They trust that a healthy, light hunger is the strongest driver for the child to try new foods, not the adults pleading or tempting. And this is not an emotional belief, but has a solid scientific basis. After about 2 hours without snacks, the hormone ghrelin begins to rise steadily. This is the hormone that sends signals to the brain, activating appetite and the curiosity to explore new flavors. When ghrelin rises, the child's natural inclination is to want to smell, taste, and try. Conversely, if the child eats anything, no matter how small, such as a piece of cake or a sip of sugary milk, this hormone is immediately blocked. The brain loses interest in exploring new dishes. Therefore, in French families, What matters is not what the child eats, but when the child eats. And when mealtime arrives, the child appears at the table in a state of complete physiological readiness, slightly hungry, calm, and open to new foods. To practice this, French parents use a set of consistent phrases that help the child feel safe while still respecting the structure. For example, before a new dish, they often say, "You don't have to like this food, you just need to taste it so your tongue gets used to it." This is a very characteristic phrase. Gentle, non-pressuring, yet creates a clear expectation. The child understands that their task is not to finish the meal, not to prove anything, but just to taste it. In the context where the child is sufficiently hungry thanks to the 2 to 3 hour window, this request becomes entirely feasible. Another important point is that the French do not view a slight feeling of hunger as dangerous. They do not chase the child with food every time the child cries out that they are hungry. They believe that if the child has just missed a snack, or it is not yet mealtime, it is normal for the child to feel slightly hungry and is a natural part of the biological rhythm. Meanwhile, in many families, whenever the child says, "I'm hungry," parents immediately offer food. This inadvertently teaches the child that hunger is something that must be immediately suppressed, when in fact, slight hunger is a tool to support healthy eating habits. Therefore, the hunger window pillar is not merely, "do not let the child snack." It is a structure that includes clear time intervals between meals, no intermittent food, no milk substitution for main meals, no impromptu fruit before mealtime, and consistency every day. When practiced regularly, the child will come to the table with the biological engine operating optimally. And at that point, all the remaining pillars, such as le menu unique, polite tasting, or not forcing the child to eat, become much easier and more effective. In summary, the French end picky eating not by increasing pressure, not by constantly changing dishes, but by restoring the natural feeling of hunger and creating a clear structure that the child can trust. And it all begins with the simple yet powerful door, the 2 to 3 hour hunger window. Once the French structure is clear, the most important question for parents is, what do I need to do at today's meal to change my child's picky eating habits? What you are about to read is not trivial tips or temporary fixes, but a clear 4-step process designed to both respect the child's natural biological rhythm and rebuild a healthy relationship between the child and food. The first step is to establish a safe foundation for the meal, by always serving a balanced meal with at least one safe food. The safe food does not need to be overly nutritious or complex. It just needs to be something the child will definitely eat, such as plain rice, noodles, bread, potatoes, or a familiar type of meat. The safe food acts as an emotional anchor, helping the child feel secure upon seeing something familiar on the table. When the feeling of safety is guaranteed, the child is calm enough to approach new foods without activating a defensive response. Without a safe food, the child easily falls into a state of opposition immediately upon seeing something unfamiliar, causing the eating battle to begin right away. The second step is to request polite tasting of everything on the table. This is a crucial pillar in the French method, and its effectiveness depends entirely on how parents communicate it. The French never say, "You must eat this." Instead, they use a phrase that releases pressure. "You don't have to like this food. You just need to taste it so your tongue gets used to it." This sentence sets a clear expectation but is non-pressuring. The child understands that their job is merely contact, not consumption. With the 2 to 3 hour hunger window established before the meal, this tasting request becomes reasonable given the child's biological state, making it much easier for them to accept. Tasting is the key step to register flavors in the central nervous system, and only through repeated tasting does the new food gradually become familiar. The third step is to empower the child to decide how much to eat after tasting. This is the pivotal factor that breaks the control paradox. When the child feels they have the right to choose their eating quantity, their defensive system automatically turns off, and the brain enters a state of safety and cooperation. This means parents do not count bites, do not compare, "You ate more yesterday," and do not push just one more bite. When there is no pressure, children tend to eat more than when they are controlled. And the great thing is, how much the child eats is less important than the fact that they dare to taste and dare to approach new food without fear. This is the foundation for long-term nourishment. The fourth step is to maintain consistency in the schedule and avoid commenting on what or how much the child eats. Mealtime is not a performance to judge the child's ability. When parents overly praise, like, "You're such a good eater," or comment, "Why are you eating so little?" the child's attention is pulled away from listening to their body and directed towards wanting to please or oppose the parents. Mealtime needs to become a quiet, predictable biological rhythm where the child feels free to choose within a clear framework. And when the eating schedule is regular, the 2 to 3 hour hunger window is established daily. The child's stomach gradually learns to send the correct hunger satiety signals at the right time, helping to reinforce the natural biological loop. When these 4 steps are applied simultaneously with the 2 to 3 hour hunger window, changes often appear faster than parents expect. The child comes to the table with higher focus, tries new foods more easily, and mealtimes become much lighter. No forcing, no pleading, no changing dishes. Just the right structure and consistency. One of the greatest fears parents have when implementing the hunger window and stopping snacks is the seemingly simple question: what happens if my child eats nothing at the meal? This is a realistic worry, and it is also why many parents easily break the structure after just 1 or 2 meals. But the most important thing to understand is, a child skipping a meal is not a danger signal, but often just a reflection of their biological rhythm being readjusted after a long period of disruption by continuous snacking. In the French approach, the foundational principle is, if the child is truly hungry, and there is a safe food on the table, the child will eat. The human body, especially in young children, has a very strong self-regulating system. The child will not intentionally allow themselves to lack energy when familiar, easily accessible, and safe food is available. If the child doesn't eat, it almost always means they are not hungry enough, not that they are deliberately being oppositional. And if the child is not hungry enough, parents rushing to offer more food, cookies, or a glass of milk will only prolong the picky eating vicious cycle. So what should parents do when the child doesn't touch anything at dinner? The French expert's answer is clear and consistent. Parents remain calm, end the meal as usual, and state gently but firmly that the kitchen is closed. The accompanying message is often very simple. The kitchen closes after dinner. Breakfast will start at 7 a.m. You can eat at the next meal. No judgment, no scolding, no showing disappointment, and especially no offering any other items. This structure sends the child 2 important signals. The meal has a clear time limit, and if you don't eat now, your body will wait until the next meal. The child learns that eating is a regular rhythm, not an impromptu request. When this rhythm is maintained daily, the child's body will automatically readjust its hunger satiety cycle, and true appetite will appear at the right time. Another parental worry is, if my child skips dinner, will it harm their health? The answer is no. A missed meal is not harmful to a healthy child. The child's body is very capable of regulating energy, and skipping a single meal does not affect overall health. Much more important is that the child learns consistency and respect for the meal. This is a life skill that the French value no less than the child learning to read or tie their shoes. In the first 3 days of implementing the hunger window, what parents often encounter is resistance. The child demands snacks, milk, or wines. This is not a sign that the child cannot bear it, but merely adaptive behavior. The child's body is transitioning from eating all day long to eating on a fixed rhythm. This phase usually lasts 1 to 3 days. The more firmly parents maintain the structure, the faster the biological hunger returns. By the 2nd or 3rd day, most parents are surprised to see the child come to the meal with much more eagerness and focus. The child starts by eating the safe food, then tastes the new food without being begged. The change is sometimes so sudden that parents can't believe it's their own child. One important point to note: addressing concerns is not about confronting the child, but about dialoguing with the parent's own anxiety. When parents truly trust the structure, the child perceives that certainty and adjusts accordingly. But if parents are anxious, wavering, or show pity when the child says, "I'm hungry," the child will cling to that to bargain. Therefore, the most important factor during this phase is not the child, but the parent's mindset. The hunger window is not harsh control, but a gift parents give their child. The gift of a healthy biological rhythm, the ability to listen to their body, and self-autonomy in their own choices. When parents understand and trust the structure, every meal can become much lighter. When you look back at the entire journey from the beginning, you will see one thing very clearly. A child's picky eating is not a parental failure, nor is it a sign of a lack of discipline or proper upbringing. Most of the difficulties at mealtimes are merely the result of a disrupted biological rhythm and an eating environment that was not properly designed. When we understand that neophobia is a natural instinct, that coercion only makes children more closed off, and that true hunger is the strongest biological driver for children to approach a meal with an open mind, then all the pieces start to fit together very logically. You have seen how the French approach eating: no forcing, no bargaining, no emotional control, and no turning meals into an endless negotiation. Instead, they create stable structure, clear expectations, and a calm atmosphere, 3 elements children need to feel safe when exploring new foods. And the center of that structure is the 2-3 hour hunger window. The pillar that helps restore natural hunger, activates the hormone ghrelin, releases psychological resistance, and returns the child to their inherent biological state. When hungry, the child will eat. When calm, the child will taste. When familiar, the child will expand their palate. What you are doing is not just helping your child eat more or eat healthier. You are teaching your child a life skill. The ability to recognize hunger and fullness, the skill of listening to their body, and the skill of integrating into meals as a natural part of life. When meals become predictable, safe, and stress-free, children not only eat better but also develop self-autonomy, calmness, and the ability to cooperate. These are qualities that are useful not just at the dining table, but will follow the child to school, into relationships, and throughout their future life. The wonderful thing is, you don't need to change the entire parenting system. You only need to start with one single thing: restoring the 2-3 hour hunger window. When this rhythm is stable, the other principles like polite tasting, no force feeding, and le menu unique naturally become easier. And when you maintain this consistency for a long enough period, you will see a very clear transformation. Meal times become quiet, the child resists less, and you will feel something that you thought you had lost for years: a sense of peace at the dining table. Now, if you are wondering, I understand the hunger window pillar, but outside of meal times, what am I doing that is unknowingly making my child lose their appetite? That is a completely natural question. Because the truth is, the real problem is not only in the meal, but in what happens between meals. There are small, daily habits that are silently destroying the child's hunger satiety system, meaning that even if you apply the correct structure at mealtime, the child still cannot eat as well as desired. And that is exactly why you should not miss the next video. In that video, we will go straight to the core issue: the 3 unintentional parenting mistakes that are making the child's natural hunger disappear and preventing the French eating method from being effective. If you want to understand more deeply, want to truly fix the root cause, and want daily meal times to become pleasant moments instead of a mental battle, please click on the next video. It is the next step in the journey to bring your child back to a natural, healthy, and enthusiastic eating rhythm.